Let's continue to take a look at Godot. Alright friends, let's back into Godot again, and this time we'll go supercharged with some of the things that we're going to take a look at. So first of all, I had a couple of hours and a day to sort of think about a few things, and the first thing I did discover is that, well, you can of course change the class that this extends from, and then all of a sudden, right, you get access to, the transform over here, you get access to the translate. So I've actually even changed the move towards method here to being translate over here. It makes it so much easier, because if you actually take a look at the Godot one, so for people who are already familiar with Godot, you're going to be like, yeah, this is pretty obvious. But once again, I'm coming in here completely blind, and here, these would be all of the things that are available from the node class, right? And then we have also things from the canvas item. And then here we have things available from the node 2D, which specifically is the transform. That's the big thing that is specific for only a node 2D. So that is one thing that is kind of interesting. And there's also one thing that I've discovered, and that is that you can only put one script on each of your nodes. So if I wanted to, for example, add another script to my character right here, what I would have to do is I would have to add a child node right here. But what's very interesting is that it basically, when you do that, it gives you a possibility of adding all sorts of different kind of nodes right here, which is freaking crazy, right? So I could add another 2D node, for example. Over here, as you can see, like there's bones, audio listeners. I could add markers. I could even add a timer, apparently, which is, I don't even know how that works, but it is absolutely crazy. And I think that that's pretty freaking cool. I think that that's a very interesting way of doing it. So each node has its own sort of responsibility. I don't know if the right way, for example, would be if I were to change this, this would be now the player, for example, right? Let's just say. And I wanted to have, well, I now want my health script, right? So coming from Unity, right? I would make a health script and I would just attach it to the player. I would then be like, okay, do I just add it as another node, right? Do I just add another node right here? And I would call this like the health node. I'm just, once again, saying this and then, adding a new script right here. I'll call this the health script maybe. And this is going to be under C#. That's okay. And this is going to be a node. That's fine. I don't think I want to do object. I don't think that that's quite right. So we're going to create that. And then we have the health script and we could, do some stuff in here. But what I want to do now is I have the possibility of being able to run with this guy. So I can move him about right here, which is pretty cool. And I would just want to like add some sort of area that, just happens. So basically some sort of collision. I just want to do some basic collision and just see how that works. So I would assume that I probably needed to add a child over here. Let's just see if there's any collision. So there's a collision shape right here, which is also a node 2D. That would probably be what I want to do. A collision shape, which provides a shape 2D and a collision object parent. Let's just create that and see what happens. So this doesn't work because it doesn't have a collision shape. So we want to do that as a child of an area 2D, static body 2D, rigid body 2D, or a character body 2D. Okay, then we will change. Let's do a character body 2D then. Let's create that under the player. And then we're going to take the collision shape below that. There's still something, and that is the shape must be provided by the collision shape 2D function. Please create a shape resource for it. Okay, that's, this giving us the warnings right here. I actually enjoy that. That's pretty interesting. So let's then create the resource. This is a resource, right? And they said it would be a shape. So how about this is going to be how about we're just going to do a rectangle shape for now. So this would be the player shape. Once again, just playing around with this a little bit. So this is going to be right here. So this is a script and the shape is going to be the player shape. Okay, that's actually pretty much what I had in mind over here for the collision shape. We can even change this pretty freaking easily over here. All right, now future Kaupenjoe jumps in over here as there have been, I think, like over 100 comments in the first two videos right now, which, I basically just want to make sure that I incorporate a few of those in this video as well. So the first thing that is incredible is if you press F1, bam, you get the search, and now you might be like, okay, well, what can I do with this? Well, let's just say, for example, I want to figure out what the animated texture is. I double click this, and I get the entirety of all the documentation right here inside of the engine itself, that's pretty freaking crazy. I also have figured out that using an external editor might be a bad idea. So that might not be a good idea at all, because there's a couple of things that are just easier done inside of the script editor right here. Another thing that a lot of people have basically said, while C# right now is sort of working and you can do it, you should stick with GDScript. That is like one of the big things that a lot of people have been telling me. And I actually also think, thinking about it for a couple of days, honestly, it's not that bad. Like, it's really not that difficult. Sort of think about it in a little bit of a different way. So if we were to, let's say, just get rid of this and then let's create a new script. This is going to be the health node, but this time in GDScript, right? So this is the health node at GD. When we open the health right here, right, we get the export right here. So then the same thing would be var health equals 5, I would argue. And to let it have it shown in the inspector, I would add an add export, if I understand this correctly. And then it might work. Let's take a look right here. This is the health node again. There we go. We got the health right here. And that is the thing shown. That is, I mean, that's totally fine. And then when it comes to the rest, right, when we have the damage method right here, I mean, the similar thing goes, right? We would do func. I don't know if you need to start with underscore, if that's maybe a convention, but maybe we can then call this damage, and we can call this damage. And because it's not strongly typed, it's going to figure this out on its own. So that would be, let me just like get this in here, and then we can just change this. So that would be health is minus equals damage. That is correct. And then here, we're just going to call the print method. And then here, instead of the curly brackets, we're just going to have this. And then this is also going to be just a print call. And all of a sudden, this seems to make a little bit more sense. I think the comments are definitely right that GDScript is not actually as bad. A lot of people have said that usually, you know, people come over and they're like, oh, C# is going to be, you know, you want to try this out. But when you then use GDScript, it's actually fairly straightforward. I mean, it's basically just Python with a few extra steps, but I feel pretty good about it so far. And now what I actually wanted to do is I wanted to add a new area right here. So this would be adding this into the scene, and that would basically be an area 2D. Let's add the area 2D right here. So this needs a collision shape again. So there's going to be a collision shape. I really enjoy the fact that it basically tells you, hey, you need to add this to the specific node, and this needs to be added as well. And then in the collision shape, we need to make a new shape, for example, just a new rectangle, and we can make this bigger here as well. And in this case, I would make a script for the area 2D, because that would be the thing that basically sort of detects this. So we could call this the attack area script or something like that, right? So I could do that. And now the crazy thing about it is that what I would like to do is I would like it so that when let me actually make this red. So what I'd like to do is now that when an area, right, with a health node enters into this area, that it somehow gets damaged. That would be the logical things that I would do. Once again, this is probably still Unity thinking here, but I think that that's fair. Now, what I did also find, and this is, I'm gonna be real, that is crazy. So in the node right here, you can get the signals right here, which I think is actually the thing that you would want to, well, basically like change, right? So now my question is, can I do it in both ways? So I could ask the area, I could be like body entered, right? So this would be a body entered into this area, and I double click it and I say, I want to then create the on body enter method inside of my script that I've just created, and bam, it just creates it. And this will now basically get me, hey, something went in there. So this is as easy as then just saying, for example, you know, something entered, just for the sake of argument right here. I'm still using the semicolons. That's going to stay for a while, I think, but there you go. And that should actually already work, right? So if I'm going to build this, okay, something is afoot, but there you go. So basically, I'm entering into the area and it works. This is probably, as the name suggests right here, it's probably getting the body. So this would be, I would expect a sort of character body. Let me find the area 2D so you can control click on, well, any sort of class or method or anything to pull up the docs, which is absolutely freaking fantastic. Now the question is, there are these signals. So signals are freaking crazy, guys. They are insane. Basically an event that gets fired or a signal in this case that gets emitted, and then you can see like emitted when the received area enters this area. That is absolutely freaking crazy cool. This is so good. This is like so well designed. You don't need to check everything for like every frame. You can just say, hey, just when this, you know, this signal gets emitted, then I want to do something really freaking awesome. Let's just print out the body and let's see what it is. So this is the character body 2D. It does make a lot of sense. So that would be the character body 2D. So now I would want to get to the health node. Now, this is the question that I'm still, you know, definitely struggling with. So please do feel free to leave me a comment. Okay, so I understand it correctly that now I have to actually define specifically what the body is, and I can do it like this. Is this a Is this a correct statement? And now I get body dot, and I can get like the parent, for example, get parent right here, bam. And then when I have the parent, right, which would be the player, I could, I guess, get the child, and I get the child of index 0, which would get me the health node. And then can I now just call damage over here? That will be the question. Will it just handle this for me? Because this should be getting the health node right here. So this is where I am. And now I can just call damage, and it's just going to like do that. Also, this is a C# script. So wait a second. No, this is the health node. Wait a second. This is the health node. That would be damage. Does it like just do that? Let's see. It does not. Why not? String and integer are not. Oh, okay. We can't do that. So the funny thing is, the only thing that doesn't work is that this is not being recognized as a string, but I think we can do it like that. And now all of a sudden, health is now 4, 3, 2, 1, and bam. Well, that's pretty neat. Of course, the structure here would always have to be the same, sort of to make sure that, hey, you get the parent from the body and then you get the child. I believe I've seen this before, and that would be great confirmation. So a lot of people basically, as their root node of their player, let's say, for example, they actually wouldn't put the sprite. They would actually put the body, like the body itself. So any type of collision object 2D, basically, because that's what's always going to be gotten through, for example, like an unentered method. And then it's way easier to, you don't have to basically reference the parent again and then the child. You can just be like, get child. Okay, so that definitely makes a lot more sense. Now, one last thing I want to do is I actually want to, not necessarily like rewrite the movement script, but I wanted to at least take a look at another thing. So first of all, get rid of the movement script right here again. So people have basically set to take a look at the input map, which would be under project. So under project settings input map, apparently you can add actions over here. So I guess like something like move left, move right, move up, move down. So then it would be, oh my god, and then you can actually map it to keyboard inputs and buttons and axes. That is freaking fantastic, man. So left, I could then just be like, hey, just put this under. So left, I could just put this under the A key over here. Oh my gosh, that is so freaking good. Okay, that makes it actually pretty nice. Oh, you can even just enter that there. That is so well done. So you just listen for an input and then you just put it in there and then there you go. Wow, that's phenomenal. So then we're going to add a new movement script again. So this is the player movement, because why the frick not? Player movement, there you go. Basically, the thing is you can get an input access via input.getVector. And look at this. It gets our predefined things that we have. So we can get left over here. Left, positive X. Wait, which one is up and which one is down? Wait. Negative X is left, right? And then we have, this is negative Y. And then we have moving up, which is positive Y. There you go. And then they did tell me to normalize it, which makes a lot of sense, actually. And I think this is the one thing I've been saying. Basically, you shouldn't have the sprite as the top one for the player, but you should probably use the character body over here. So if I were to change this up and just do it like this, let me just make sure that should be fine. Yeah, and then instead of the player having the player movement script, you'd put that on the top over here, which would be the player movement right here. So let's just put it in there. And then instead of a sprite 2D, it would become a character body 2D. And I believe now I have access to the velocity right here, which is exactly right. So velocity would then just be equal to the input axis here, and I should already be able to, to move. Let's see if this is true. Let's take a look. I'm probably moving very, very slowly. All right, so I was able to figure it out by using the apparently move and slide method right here, which moves the body based on the velocity. So that is very interesting indeed. So that is one of the things that's a little bit confusing, that, well, basically you have to call another method right here to basically do that. I also, in the documentation for, well, basically getting started with movement, it does say that I should basically put this in the function of physics process instead. So this should be all right here instead of in the process method. But if I do that, that's also totally fine. And you can see I can move. Now, this is not 100% correct movement because, well, if I press S, I actually go up, and if I press W, I go down. So the vector lied to me. Negative Y is up and this is down. I saw a few things about the weirdness of what's up and down, but I guess that's fine. There you go. That's going to be okay. And that is working. I guess you would probably want to add a little bit of oomph right here, maybe 500. And then, oh, there you go. now I am, oh yeah, of course. Now we're getting an error right here because I didn't change this, but now we can get the first child, and all of a sudden, bam, I can do this again, and everything is working perfectly. So what am I taking from this episode? Well, the first thing I'm taking from this episode is that it is probably, honestly, using GDScript is probably just better. While, yeah, C#, I mean, it seems to be working, and it seems to be fine. While one is at it, we're learning something new, learning the language over here. It really shouldn't be anything crazy, because let's be honest, a lot of languages are very similar. And it's not like this is all of a sudden like a completely different language where everything is different. I feel like this is pretty straightforward. And the second thing to think about is sort of the setup in the nodes right here. I mean, this is still definitely one of the things that gets me to, I mean, basically I have to completely unlearn what I already know in order to sort of wrap my head around the setup of the nodes, basically. But I think I'm getting a little bit closer to it, so I would definitely appreciate any type of comment that does, you know, demystifies anything, basically. But that's gonna be it for this episode. On the left side, you can get the last episode for Godot, and on the right side, another engine where we're gonna, you know, stupidly run around and see what we can find. Hope to see you in one of those videos, and until next time. So, yeah.